Craig McCormick here from DestructivePixels.com, and let's have, oh no, one for the road. There we go. Today I am having Brewdog's Punk IPA. Personally, I consider this one of the best IPAs on the market. My Scottish heritage might give me some sort of bias, but I do think this is extremely good. Oh, that is just the best. I'm not a big IPA guy, but this is really good. So today I want to talk about feeding the habit, which is a concept or a phrase, at least, that I got from my friend RC Concepcion. He talks about this quite a lot, especially at Photoshop World, and it's the concept of you don't necessarily need to make a full-time living from your photography. You just need to make enough of a living to feed the habit itself. So if you make enough money from your photography to pay for your photography rather than using your salary to pay for it. And the concept that comes out of this is that his salary that he gets paid, obviously, from Kelby One and all the rest of it, isn't actually spent on photography gear. It's spent on, family, kids, house, all that kind of stuff. But selling prints and doing all this other kind of stuff is what pays for his photography gear, and selling gear that he's already bought kind of stuff. And this concept has become quite interesting to me because it's been interesting for a while, but the goal I have for it this time around is because I have a piece of gear I want to buy. And it's actually, I feel really bad about this because I feel like I'm jumping onto the bandwagon that's already sailing across that train track at hyperspeed. I'm really looking at the Sony a7R II as not a replacement for my Canon, because that Canon, my 5D Mark III, has a place. It's a really great video camera. I love using it for my YouTube stuff. But for landscape stuff, I'm really interested in the Sony because of that sensor, wow, words are hard apparently, because of the sensor in it, because it's backlit, because of the dynamic range in it. I'm really interested in playing with it. I will probably rent it before I buy it. But my main goal here, and I want to be straight with you guys because I feel like I really should be straight with you guys. I want to buy that camera by the end of the year. My goal is to make enough money from my photography in order to buy that camera at the end of the year. Which means a few things. That's one of the reasons that's pushed me to actually start selling prints. As I said in my previous one for the road, selling prints has been on the cards for a little while, but I just haven't galvanized feels like the wrong word. Words are really hard tonight apparently because it's late. It's already 11 o'clock. I've galvanized myself, that's the word, to actually do it. And there's a few other things, like I am looking at starting to sell images on Image Brief, which is a really cool platform. If you don't know what Image Brief is, look it up. It's a great stock image selling site, but it's a really high profile kind of stock site. I want to be selling time lapses on video blocks, which I'm already kind of playing with. I'm playing with selling time lapses on video blocks because they really lack decent Shanghai China stuff. And, obviously through AdSense stuff that I get here on YouTube. And I work with F-Stop Lounge, and I do get paid for working on F-Stop Lounge. fstoplounge.com if you want to check it out. So there's those and maybe one or two other things that's really where my income source is going to be, that I'm really focusing on earning enough money to actually pay for the Sony a7R II and also a Metabones adapter. I will probably buy it in Hong Kong because that's where I can get it cheap, and that's where I can get all the money paid quite easily into my Hong Kong account. So that's basically where the whole concept comes from, is feeding the habit, doing enough things to actually kind of pay for your photography. I could sell gear. That's one pretty good way about it. I've actually bought gear from RC himself. I've actually bought some lighting equipment that I haven't posted about actually because it's in the UK currently. Really, really nice lights. I won't say what they are just yet because I kind of want to make a bit of a video about them at some point when I actually get some time in the UK where I'm not running around doing stuff. But yeah, I could sell gear. I could probably sell some of my gear that I have here, but the problem is I already own it. I kind of don't want to get rid of it. But that's where the whole concept comes from, is feeding the habit. In order making enough money to actually feed your photography habit rather than saying, hey, I'm pretty good at this, let's go full time. And for the majority of people, feeding the habit is actually probably good enough. Some people don't want to go full time, or they can't afford to go full time. They're paid really well. And that's where I think this whole concept really comes into play, because so many people find that when they're competent enough where people start to want to give them money to do images and to do shoots and things like that, they feel like, hey, I should just do this professionally because I love shooting pictures. And the problem with that is, and I can attest to this now, at least I personally feel like I can attest to this at some point, to some level at least, is you actually spend very little time shooting pictures. I spend so little time shooting pictures compared to everything else I do for Destructive Pixels. I do so much stuff behind the scenes that you guys just simply don't know about. That I actually shoot maybe 15 to 10% of the time. And that's pretty good compared to some people I know. Professional photographers, really, you're shooting 5 to 10% of the time. Anybody that's actually good at their business and is actually making a living from it will tell you shooting is a very small part of it. Becoming a professional photographer is not all sunshine and roses and like, hey, I'm gonna go shoot pictures, I love shooting pictures, yay. It's a business. You need to make money from it. You need to be able to pay rent. You need to be able to buy food. And if you're anything else, you need to be able to pay for your kids' school. You need to pay for mortgages and rent and all this crazy stuff. I'm in a very privileged position where I don't have to do that. That's where all the money that I make from photography can just be fed straight back into photography. And that's probably good enough for most people. Just make sure you make enough money from your photography to buy the other lens. Don't just go full time, because actually becoming a professional photographer doesn't mean shooting pictures full time. It actually means probably shooting pictures less than you already do. Because you have a full-time job, you can then just shoot pictures all weekend, whereas if you're self-employed, like most professional photographers are, you're spending most of your weekend working. Because you're self-employed, you're going to work 7 days a week. Excuse me. Nose is itchy. But that is I work a lot. I have a full-time job, as many people do know. I have a full-time job here in Shanghai, and then I spend most of my weekends working. It's either filming videos, editing videos, going out and shooting, and while I'm out shooting, I'm filming vlogs at the same time, or when I'm traveling, I'm in the UK for a week doing work, I have a day off, and then I go out and vlog and shoot. That's where the majority of vlogs are, and that's actually why a lot of vlogs are like, one's in Hong Kong, and the next one's in the UK, the next one's in Shanghai, the next one is somewhere else, and that's because I'm traveling for work, and I just go out and shoot whenever I can. But that also means that I'm working pretty much 7 days a week, and if you do that kind of stuff, it can be a little bit difficult to kind of maintain. And most people don't need to go to the level that I'm at right now, where I'm working basically constantly. And that's because I actually treat Destructive Pixels, the brand, like a job. I really do treat it like a job, and I don't like just treating it as a hobby. And that's where another concept kind of comes in, where it's if your hobby becomes your job, you need a new hobby. I love that quote so much. I'm sorry, guys. My nose is fantastically itchy, and I don't know why. I swear, I don't know why. Oh my God. But yeah, I've always loved that quote. If your hobby becomes your job, you need a new hobby. And that's a great way of basically dissuading a lot of people from making their hobby their job. I'm in a very weird place where I actually really enjoy my hobby so much where I can see it becoming a job, and I have enough stuff outside of photography. Well, actually, I say that, but now in the last month or so, I'm making much more of a conscious effort of enjoying things outside of photography, because in the last few months I have kind of felt burnt out. And this is kind of going into another topic that's not feeding the habit, but this is all basically relating back to, really, if you're good at photography, you really need to think a lot about whether or not you should go professional or not. Because for 90% of people, the feeding the habit level is actually probably good enough. If you go that extra step, your habit becomes a job. Your hobby becomes a job, rather. Words are really difficult tonight, apparently. your hobby becomes your job, and that's where it doesn't become as fun. And I will admit, there are times where the whole destructive pixels, videos, photography thing isn't fun. I have to force myself to go out and shoot vlogs and shoot images, and it doesn't mean I don't enjoy it, but there are times where I'm like, I really just want to sit down and relax and watch a movie and play video games. I haven't played video games. I actually sat down at my computer and played video games this weekend because I couldn't film videos, and I had more fun this weekend than I have done for a while, because that's the first time I played games in 6 months, something like that. Like, it's crazy. Like, it's been so long since I played games because my hobbies have gone to the wayside because I've focused on this so much. So I'm kind of rambling at this point, so I will end it. If you are consciously thinking about, maybe I should make it, maybe I should go professional at this, I'm making money from this and all this kind of stuff, maybe stick at that feeding the habit level, because if you do that, it's pretty good. You're doing pretty solid if you're making enough money to pay for photography itself. But that's my entire goal for the end of this month, the end of the year rather, is I want to make enough money from my photography to pay for this camera body and the Metabones adapter. I will rent it beforehand, I will say that, and that kind of links back to another video I'll do in the future, where I'm going to talk about renting gear before you buy it and my opinions on that. But I will be renting it before I buy it, but it's already on the cards to buy because I'm very interested in that camera as a landscape photographer. So if you have a Sony a7R, I'd love to hear in the comments below actually what do you think about it, and if you shoot landscapes with it in particular, I really want to know about that. And if you also want to send me some raw files from some of your shoots, I'd love to play with them because I am very interested in the raw files for the Sony a7R too. So with that being said, I am